Hello, welcome to RC Video Reviews on Friday, April 14th, and I'm going to do an audio check. It looks good to me. If you guys could give me an audio check, that'd be awesome. And we're going to get right into it. So it's kind of a slow week, and it looks like a slow first game tonight. Hobby was in first. How you doing, Hobby? Glad you could make it. FD is here from Greece. Hello, how are you? Bill is not first. Bill got into Discord, and he said, hey, are we doing the thing tonight? And I pinged him, and I said, man, I posted the live stream right after you asked your question, gave him all the opportunity in the world be first, and he didn't do it. Hey, Robert's here. How you doing, Robert? Kapow. Just for you. Wowsy's here. How you doing, Wowsy? Henry A, good day from Australia. William Tam, hello, everyone. Anyway, yeah, Bill had an opportunity to get in first, and Hobie still took the lead on the first game. So JDM Dino Systems, where have you been? Man, did you get lost? Did you get lost on YouTube? It's been a while, my friend. Good to see you. Anyway, sounds good in Arkansas, says Stan. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks. Robert says sounds good. Good. Yeah, this new, man, I like the new mic and the new USB. It just seems to mess with me a lot less. And the weird part is the old microphone, look, I got my pointer today. The old microphone went right into USB. It's just weird how often it would just switch. It would switch to a different USB ID or whatever it does in Windows, and you just lose the microphone. Very strange. Laura Harth is here. Hi, Laura. How are you? Glad you could make it. And all right. Well, anyway, so the new microphone seems to be working out quite well. I'm really pleased with it. So let's get started. We're going to do a quick little week in review because it was short. All I did was one little short video kind of showing the OMP Hobby M4. And then I did the first look video on the OMP M4. And that is right there on the left-hand side. And then I put the OMP M4 together. So the OMP M4 is ready to go. The Spirit GT is installed. It's been spooled up. It's actually been hovered a little bit. So it's ready to go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fly this weekend or not. I'm going to try. And we're going to try and get the OMP M4 out and see if I can get some video, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen this weekend or not. We just have things going on. We have a baseball tournament to start with, so that's why I'm not sure. Anyway, that was it for the week in review. But like so many of these other weeks where there was not a whole lot of video content, there was a great deal going on behind the scenes. And, you know, I'm under an obligation not to go any further than about what you see right there, but there's a module. We're going to be talking about that a little, but I'm not supposed to show it yet. So just hang tight. There'll be a little bit more information about that later on the channel. Not tonight, a little bit later on the channel, but hang tight. All I can say is that that information is coming, but it's kind of exciting. It's kind of a different thing. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into content, and we'll jump into the Laser V2 first. So you guys know about the crash, right? The laser crash, devastating, man. I was flying the plane and something let go. You know, either the horizontal stabilizer let go, or the radio let go, or some. It was one of the two, because honestly, everything else on the ground was still intact, including power. Could have been a brownout. Somebody suggests that. Anyway, I'm not sure what the root cause was on the laser. It was devastating because it was a nice airplane. It was not cheap. It was hard to see that one go in. But, you know, these things happen from time to time. We're taking consumer electronics, lofting them in the air, flying them around at however many feet, doing crazy acrobatics with them. Sooner or later, something's bound to get you, I guess. Anyway, the Laser V2 is on the way. It's inbound. Extreme Flight got their Skywing shipment in. They posted it on the website this week, and I went ahead and placed the order. Now, keep in mind, this is just an ARF this time, not the plug-and-play, because I'm going to use all of the hardware from the original on the ARF. I still have the servos. I still have the motor, the ESC. That's all still good. I simply have to convert those electronics for use on the new ARF. So that's what's going to be happening in the next, over the week, right? I'll try and get that built and hopefully get a maiden on that next weekend. So Laser V2 is on the way. I managed to get the same red and white scheme. Very happy to have it back. Very sad I had to spend more money to do it, but you know, that's the way these things go. From time to time, there will be, what do they say? A little rain must fall in every life. I guess that's my turn for rain, watching that laser go in. Very sad, very sad. Anyway, JDM Dino Systems says, yeah, I've been busy. Matt, you've been 9 months worth of busy, dude. I'm glad you made it back, though. Henry A, sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for the sound check. Freddie, is Freddie awake? Freddie said you panicked. Freddie wasn't even there, man. Dave was there, and I'm not going to take the bait. Freddie wouldn't know panic in a plank if it slapped him in the face. That's just it's the way he is. And he'll tell you I'm not wrong. So that's the funny part about it. JDM Dino System says the OMP M4 looks nice. It really does, man. It looks like a nice little helicopter. Look at that pancake motor, man. That thing is huge. 8108, 205 kV direct drive. It's pretty cool. Hobie, smash that like button on the way. And I appreciate that, Hobie. Yeah, if you guys could hit that like button, that'd be awesome. That's always good when you do that. So, all right, let's see. I think I've had more crashes on this channel than John. Probably. We started that way, Hobie. Hobie's first appearance on the channel was with a crash. Anyway, so that's it for the laser. Let's go ahead and move into the next topic, and that would be the OMP Hobby M4. So I already touched on it a little bit. The M4, the one thing I wanted to tell you guys, I had a comment on the channel over the week, and the comment came in. He said, hey, I bought the OMP Hobby M4, the Spirit GT, and the GeoLink GPS based on your recommendation, and I kind of want to clear something up. I haven't really made a recommendation on the Spirit GT. I found it because I want to try that GPS. I've never flown that fly barless. So that fly barless is new to me. And I did spend the week getting it configured, and I went through it a couple of dozen times, and I still had a mistake. So it's, you know, I'm done with the configuration now. I've hovered the helicopter, and it does hover. So, you know, I think by and large, at least I can fly it, right? We'll see what happens with the other elements. Like I've already told Dave and Fred, my plan for that with all the safety modes with the GPS is to have a very, very controlled safety trial. So once we flesh out the helicopter, we know the helicopter goes up, down, it's controllable. We bring it back down on the ground, and John does his post-flight inspection like he should have done on a damn laser. We'll get it back on the ground, do an inspection, check all the screws, make sure everything's happy. And then after that, we'll probably fly it again just to make sure everything's good. And then we're going to mess with the GPS. And my plan with the GPS is there's a couple of different modes that one has. The first one is a position hold. And I think that's like the least risk one to try. So we'll do that. We'll do a position hold. It has a recovery mode. So you hold the momentary switch like that and it will recover itself. It's got a return to home mode. So if you click return to home, it will, in theory, whatever it's doing, it'll right itself and fly back to be in front of you. And there was one other one, and that's the hard deck. The hard deck option is where, and you can actually, the hard deck is actually set when you activate it. So the way I have mine set up is I move this switch to this position. And when I do that, that sets the hard deck. And from that point on, the helicopter shouldn't go below that altitude. So we're going to do all these things, but we're going to do it in a very controlled environment. I'm not going to try it all on the very first flight, right? And I might even break it up into two parts. I might do the maiden first, say here's the build review and the maiden, and then that's a video. And then the second video will be here are all the safety features of the Spirit GT. I really do want to flesh that out because I have a feeling that if it works well, it could make helicopters much more approachable for everybody, especially if you don't have a Freddy there to help you out like I do. So just letting you know, that's kind of the game plan for the OMP M4. And again, not sure if it's going to happen this weekend or not. If not, hopefully next weekend we'll be able to get some flying in. But that's the game plan. That's the game plan for the M4. So I'll check comments real quick, and then we'll move on. RC Hero says the twin timber is so amazing. Can't wait to fly. Oh, a twin timber. Nice. The motor on the M4 looks like it would take a long time to heat up. Probably, man, and it can dissipate some heat too because it's got all that surface area. Hey, John, I wonder whatever happened to that guy. You guys were at the field where he was flying the helicopter and let you fly it. I wonder where that is now. He was flying that helicopter and let you fly it. I wonder where that is now. You have to refresh my memory, man. I don't remember that one. Hobie says position hold is like that $2,000 heli Tim flew at the heli gathering. Yeah, position hold, man, it can be worth some real money. You know, it can save you. And I'm really interested in that one. I'm interested in the two that I'm most interested in is that hard deck thing, because in a helicopter crash, it can all happen like that in a flash. So I'm really interested in that hard deck thing. And I'm interested in the position hold because here's the deal. If you have your helicopter, let me switch over to the big camera. If you're out there flying your helicopter and you're cruising, say at 30 miles an hour, and let's say you're inverted tail first, and then you go sideways, it wants to crash fast. But in theory, that hard deck says, nope, we're not going to go below this altitude. So the helicopter will maintain, right? But if you have that hard deck set, if it tries to go below that, the GPS should stop it. But that doesn't mean it won't keep its momentum going. So if you're cruising along 30, 40, 50 miles an hour and you screw up, the helicopter will come fix itself for the hard deck, but the momentum may carry. That's kind of what I think is going to happen, but I don't know. So I'm still kind of curious about it. Maybe if you hit the hard deck, it just rights itself. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to find out though. But my theory is that if you do a rescue and it recovers itself from the altitude or from that hard deck violation, then if you're out of orientation, the idea would be hit position hold, and that will just freeze the helicopter in its spot while you gather yourself, right? And then bring the helicopter back and get yourself back into control. The most interesting facet of that, though, is that hard deck, because the hard deck's automatic. So once I put that switch in that SE middle position, that's it. It should never go below. It's like flying with the safety net, you know? That's the idea. So yeah, I think that position hold to me is a very interesting concept. And that with that hard deck, the automatic recovery on the hard deck, very fascinating. I'm very, very anxious to try that. And if it works, you know, you really could let anybody fly the helicopter. Anyone could take a crack at it, because you could just say, you know, it'll keep itself at the hard deck. And even if you lose orientation, you could just reach over and hit the return to home switch. It'll just come back. So really interesting, but we have to break this up into parts. And by the way, that's how I do my fixed wing stuff too with all the flight computers, right? You validate the airframe, you validate that it can fly, you make sure the computer's, you know, basic acro modes are correct before you start doing things like return to home. That's just the way I do it. And yeah, that's that. So let's see, the uncrashable helicopter. Yeah, I know. And Robert, there's another cool feature on this one that I haven't even gotten into yet, and that's that it does geofences too. So if you think about being at the airport, you know, your field, your RC field, if you know where your runway is, you can get on your map at home on your computer and say, my geofence is here, 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 and here. And that way you can take it up and go fly. You can have your field be the geofence and the runway be the barrier. So that way, even if you are doing something crazy violent and it recovers from the hard deck, it won't pass the runway line and come near the flight line. That's another really interesting feature. After I get through all the GPS stuff, the geofence will be next. I do want to try that out, because I kind of think with that geofence, the geofence combined with a hard deck and a position hold, I mean, and a return to home, that basically makes it unflappable. That really makes it so anybody could fly it. And that's kind of what I'd like to get to. I'd like to get to that point where I can say to somebody, here, try it, you know, let them fly it. I think that's got some real repercussions. And by the way, might be something worth putting on the big helicopter too. You know, no one wants to see a helicopter go in, but if you got a 700, you definitely don't want to see that go in. That gets expensive to replace those parts. So anyway, that's the game plan. FL Engineer says, only heli I can fly. Yeah, you know, you spend a little time on something like that, Tim, and you can learn, right? Helis need more props they can identify as quads. Oh my gosh, I'm not touching it. 4i says, hey all, TGIF, I'm with you, brother. Thank God it's Friday. The uncrashable heli, I think it was you, Tim, and Freddie. Oh, the Mikado. You're talking about the Mikado at the Torches event. Yeah, you couldn't crash that one. Did you have a chance to test rotor flight? It looks interesting. Not yet. Rob has been our canary in the coal mine on rotor flight. If you don't know what rotor flight is, it is a fork of Betaflight, so it's open source and it runs on standard flight controllers. So Rob has been monkeying around with it and he's learned some things, but I don't think it's quite there yet. I'm not willing yet to get into it yet. So I'm aware of it and I'm keeping tabs on it, and my proxy on that one is Rob. So when Rob gets it to a point where he goes, yeah, this is pretty solid, then maybe I'll take a look at it. Anyway, that's it. So that's it for comments, and that is it for the OMP M4. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is sensors. Man, I got a lot of stuff to talk to you guys tonight about sensors. We have some things to cover. So last week I did a video in the Pilot Jam, and I talked a lot about voltage sensors. So we're going to talk more about voltage sensors, but we're also going to talk about some other sensors. So what I want to do first, I've got Precious up, and I've got this little FlySky IA6B set up and ready to go. And there were a couple things I wanted to show you because I've been getting questioned about this on the channel. So the first thing I want to do, keep in mind on AFH AFH, wait a minute, AFH DS2A on 2A. That is built into the NPM. So let me click on the model settings real quick and look at this on the internal RF. You can see that we're using FlySky 2A, okay? That's built into your NPM. That will work with these little FlySky IA6B receivers. And by the way, these have a pretty good following. They seem to be well liked. I've flown, I think, briefly with one, but I actually put one of these in the Millennium Master last night. So if I do get a chance to fly soon, I'm going to be taking one of these out. So I did put one of these, the IA6B in the Millennium Master. I want to try this Airlink out. That's what I'm getting to. That's the bottom line. I want to try this Airlink out. And the reason I want to do it is because these are 16 bucks and they're built into your NPM. And they have sensors. They have the sensors. So there's a sensor. That's the battery sensor, if you remember from last week. So that's not really what I wanted to show you today, though. What I wanted to show you today was something about S-Bus and PWM. Because a friend of mine, Jay, you guys remember Jay, he called me up a few weeks ago and he said, hey, I having this channel conflict thing and I want to be able to run my pan and tilt and I ran out of channels. What can I do? So we talked about it a little bit and I said, you know, you can run PWM with S-Bus concurrently. And he said, oh yeah, that's right. So we turned it on and sure enough, it worked. So what I'm going to show you guys real quick on this, I just need to apply power. And my goal here, the objective here is to show you guys that we can run S-Bus and PWM concurrently. Okay, so let me switch over to the workspace and we'll bring that workspace up. And oh, by the way, one other thing I wanted to comment on before I forget. We, you know, for the past several weeks, I've been streaming at 4K, trying that out. I also noticed that there have been some issues with jitter and watching the videos after the fact. You can see micro jitter in the videos. So I switched it back down to 1080p. I think that the system just didn't have quite enough, you know, bandwidth overhead to make the 4K work correctly. And it was probably causing my machine to queue up a little bit. So as we go through the evening, if you guys don't mind, let me know if you see any jitters or issues with quality or resolution or anything. Just let me know, just so I can take a look. Okay, so here we are back on the Hobby Eagle. And so what I've got here is the Hobby Eagle A3 Super 4, and I've got it connected with a single wire. This is S-Bus into the A3 Super 4, and this is S-Bus out. Let me unplug this real fast, and I want to show you guys. On these FlySky receivers, they say servo. So I have my pointer here, and they'll say servo right there. You see that green one? Let me do the big camera so I know you can see it okay. So that pin right there says servo, and that's a horizontal pin. So what we do is we're going to take our S-Bus connector and plug it into that horizontal pin. So this is now S-Bus feeding my Hobby Eagle, and you can tell it worked because the Hobby Eagle goes blue as soon as it's got a signal. So we'll go back to the workspace, and what I want to show you on the workspace is that I'm going to move. Let me go ahead and make the servo visible to you. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to move my aileron, and notice the servo is moving. The servo's moving, and you see the servo, the aileron channel right there in the Hobby Eagle configuration software right up there. It's also, we're talking about this one right here. You see this line? That's the aileron. So you see that's moving. So that's the S-Bus signal moving, and my servo's moving. But here's the deal. The servo's not plugged into the Hobby Eagle. It's plugged into the receiver. It's plugged into channel 1 on the receiver. So what that means is the receiver, this is PWM. Here's the wire right here. It's this one. That's the wire. So that's PWM on the receiver. That's PWM channel 1. But what I'm trying to show you is that you're getting channel 1 simultaneously on both. Okay? Simultaneously on both. Now, what that means is you could go into this configuration up here and say, well, I want to take my ailerons off of there and I want to move them to channel 10 or 11 or 12. Because on this device, we only have 6 pins. So you could feed your ailerons starting on channel 7. Right? So the idea is that you can use a combination of S-Bus and PWM together if you have a use case for that. Think about something like landing gear, flaps, a pan and tilt, anything like that that you don't need to run through a stabilizer. You can run that via PWM on your receiver. And that's all I really wanted to show you. So there's the PWM signal, although you see it moving on the aileron. Now I'm going to take this wire off of the PWM pin. All right, so now the servo's off, not moving. And what I'm going to do is plug it into the output, channel 1 on the gyro. So there we go. Now we're on channel 1 on the gyro. And if I move my stick, you can see I still have aileron movement. Same deal. All that's showing you is that you have signal going through both PWM pins. It's coming out here, and it's being fed via S-Bus into the gyro, interpreted by the gyro, and output is PWM here. Okay? Now, there are some other use cases for this. Let me show you another kind of cool use case for this, why you might want to think about something like this. Let's say, for example, that you've got this little cheap Tower Pro 9-gram servo. It's 50 hertz analog servo. You can run that through your PWM. And by the way, if you look at the configuration options on this FlySky, do you see how that servo update rate is set at 50? So you can set your servo update rate at 50 hertz, and you can have your S-Bus just be S-Bus, and you can go into your configurator here on Hobby Eagle and set your output frequency to 333 if you want. So just kind of, there are maybe some use cases where you can say, well, I want to have digital servos here and analog servos here. You can split this stuff up. One thing I don't know about, and I have to fall on the sword because I just don't know the answer. And I do want to call it out in case somebody goes, wait a minute. And that's that I don't know if that servo update rate also impacts the rate of the S-Bus stream. That I don't know. Don't know the answer to that. But the bottom line is you can specify 50 hertz for output on PWM, and you can increase your servo frequency in your controller for, say, 333 if you're running maybe digital servos. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to show you on that one, was a quick look at how you can run PWM and S-Bus together, right? You can run simultaneously depending on your receiver capabilities. By the way, this kind of receiver is also highly useful if you have, say, a Hobby Eagle A3 Super 3 or Super 2 that doesn't do throttle output. Because in that case, you can run your throttle right off of this receiver, and then you can still use the Hobby Eagle A3 Super 2 or Super 3 via the standard S-Bus link. So just mentioning that as a matter of course. If you can't find an A3 Super 4, but you can find a Super 3, and you have one of these PWM S-Bus type receivers, that would still work. All right, you could still make that work. All right, so that's that. Let me get back to the desktop real quick. We'll wrap that one up, and I will check comments, and then we'll move on. So we have a lot more sensor stuff to go through. Let's see. Elias is here. I got 3 kilometers. Okay. I got 3 kilometers out of that one. Easy FlySky. Oh, okay. Oh, that's good, Robert. So Robert's vouching for the IA6B. Good job. Elias made it. Rob? How's it going? Glad you could make it, Elias. I see jitters every time Hobie comments. Every time Hobie talks, huh? Well, interesting times. Mom broke her femur and daughter had a baby. Wow. Well, Elias has been busy. I hope everything's okay with the mom. Hope that gets taken care of. And congratulations on the baby, granddad. Right, nice. Let's see. That's great to see for me. It's first time grandfather. Oh, well, I got you beat by 2, my friend. I've got 2 little grands on the here. So always fun to have grands. One of the cool things about grandbabies is you get to give them back. You don't have to do the work. You can just say, whoop, they're crying. Here, Mom, take care of it. That's kind of cool. All right, let's see. I think that's it on comments, general chit-chat. So there we go. Let's go back to the desktop, the overhead camera now, and I want to show you some more sensors, but this time we're going to switch radios. So I'm going to set this. No, we're not going to switch radios yet. Hold on. I have one other thing I want to show you on this radio before I switch radios. So let me just set these things aside. And, I've been on this kick lately with voltage, and the reason I like voltage is because it's foolproof. If you have a really well calibrated system for milliamp hours, meaning your current is dead nuts on and your voltage, you can use milliamp hours, and then you can do the how many milliamp hours did I take out, how many did I put back in. That all works. I get it. I understand it. Right? I'm completely well versed. I even did videos on how to do the calibration, for Pete's sake. So I get it. But one thing that I like about voltage is the voltage meters are pretty well accurate. So here's one from the Evil Empire, FreeSky. So I've got their little voltage sensor, and I'll put a link for these in the description. But I've been on a real voltage sensor kick lately because I just don't want to fly my planes anymore without a voltage sensor. So if I can find one, I'm going to get it. And the reason for that is because the voltage sensor can't be wrong. If you have your voltage sensor set up correctly with logic on the Radio Master using EdgeTX, you can't be wrong. The voltage will tell you when it's time to land. So I really, in the past, I'd say 6 months, I've really become an absolute fan of voltage sensors, because if you do that logic, so you get an alarm when you hit your threshold, you'll always be right, and your batteries will thank you for it. So I wanted to show you this one real quick. I have to switch models. Let me back out of here. I have a model already set up for this, so I'm going to just click on the S6R, and we'll bring that guy up. And I've got the come on. There we go. So I've already got some telemetry on the main screen for this one, and all we're going to do is power it up. So I'm just going to connect this guy. It's already been bound, so you guys don't have to worry about seeing that. So we've got a bind, and right away you can see the voltage on the screen. And that's it's a real simple sensor setup. So that one goes from the S port on the S6R. And by the way, you know, this is another one of these questions. The S6R is a pretty good gyro. I don't like it as much as the Hobby Eagle. I think the Hobby Eagle is smoother and more natural. But the S6R, I got to hand it to them for a combined gyro and receiver. I'm really surprised somebody else in the market hasn't come out with something as good as this one. Anyway, S6R, it's got a gyro in there, and you simply connect via S port. You connect your wire via S port to the S port right there. And then the other end just simply goes on your device, and I'm not sure which way it goes. Let's see if this is right. Is that right? Is that blinking? I don't know if it's supposed to be blinking or not. Nope. It's supposed to be blinking this way. So there we go. There's S port. And now if I disconnect my battery, we lose our voltage on the screen. Don't mean to touch it. We lose our voltage on the screen. And then all you have to do when you set up your plane is just plug this guy in. Now, another thing that I really like about this particular sensor is that it's got a really simple connection mechanism. So instead, if you think about it, you take this link and leave that in the radio. Just buy yourself a big package of these 3-pin extensions, and you leave that in, I said in the radio, I meant to say in the plane. You leave that in the plane, and then you take your sensor and you put that in your toolbox near your battery. So instead of buying a bunch of $25 sensors, you just buy one, and you get yourself some extension leads. So you put all your extension leads in the plane, and then when you're ready to fly, you just grab your sensor along with your battery, and you plug it in. I did it backwards again. And you plug it in, and you're ready to go. You get your voltage on the screen, and your Bob's your uncle, as our friends in the Empire like to say. So little sensor, this is the FLVS ADV, I believe, from FlySky. They're about 20 bucks, so I'm kind of not happy about that, because 20 bucks. I mean, 20 bucks. Now the S6R, that's about 40, and with the sensor, you're another 20. So about 60 bucks for that arrangement. And back on the FlySky, we do have to make sure we do apples to apples comparison, though, so I have to give you some bad news. So on the FlySky, this one is 16 bucks, and the sensor is about 12, so 28, but there's no gyro. There's no gyro with this one. So you either have to add, where did it go? I swear, I have a third dimension on my desk. My gyro just literally disappeared. Well, it's not hanging off the end of the cable. I don't know what I did with it. Can you believe that? Huh. It's right in front of me. Right here in front of me. So it doesn't come with a gyro. You have to add a gyro, and that's another, you know, you can find these for 30 bucks. So 30 plus, what did I say? 30, 45, 58. So you're in that same neck of the woods. 60 for this setup. About 60 for this setup, but you also get one more box out of the deal. Although with that said, I like the box better. So just throwing that out there. So very equivalent setups. This would be a FlySky version of this, really. So you do have one more box. The FlySky arrangement S6R with the sensor, you get these two. With the IA6B, you got a battery sensor and an external gyro. Same setup, they're about the same price. But I like this gyro better than the S6R. So there you go. That was it on the sensor bits that I wanted to show you for this radio. I'm gonna go back and check comments, and then we're gonna move on because I have more sensor stuff that I need to show you. Let's see. Thought you were an engineer. I've been using my i6B with PWM with the Hobby Eagle. Now I can save some wires. Yeah, man, use that S-Bus up. Yeah, for sure. And all you have to do when you configure that one, by the way, there are options. That's another thing I like about the FlySky stuff that I think is actually kind of cool. If you click on the model settings under bind, you do have some options for the RF protocol right here. So you can use PWM iBus, which by the way, the Hobby Eagle does support, or S-Bus or IB16. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe 16 channel. I'm not sure. I have to look that one up. And there's SB16. So I guess if you want 16 channels out of S-Bus, you can do that. Maybe this is just 8. I'm guessing. Just a guess. But anyway, yeah, you do get some options on the FlySky stuff. So let's see. Because the S6R can do knife edge also, so can the Hobby Eagle. The Hobby Eagle can also do knife edge and hover, by the way. So just saying. I'm just saying, not that I think you should be using your gyro to do your flying. I do not do that. I absolutely don't do that. I do my own flying. But anyway, there you go. Bill says, nice work, John. Well, thank you, Bill. See, Bill's a gentleman. I always like having Bill around. Thanks for the nice comment, by the way. Hey, while I'm switching gears here, I want to take a minute and I want to say thanks to my patrons and remind you guys, if you like the kind of stuff that I do, if you like that I go out and find this stuff, try it, test it, show you how to configure it, the people who help me do this kind of work are my patrons. So I want to first off say thanks to my existing patrons. I appreciate all you guys who are willing to open your wallets and help me bring content to the channel, because that's what I do with the money. It is all about bringing content to the channel. So if you want to help out, you can go to patreon.com/RC Video Reviews. I've got a tier for $3 a month. You can join up, pay the $3, and I tell you guys all the money that I make on that all comes into the channel. That's what I do. I buy stuff for the channel. That's just the way it is. Okay. So thanks to my existing patrons. You guys are freaking awesome. I appreciate that you help me out. I really do. It's very, very kind of you. Very generous of you. All right. We're going to set all this other stuff away, and I'm going to bring this guy out. Nope, I'm not. I'm not going to bring that guy out. Here's what we're going to bring out. We're going to go back to the big camera, and I'm going to set the battery aside. I've got my little power supply. By the way, this is another one of those long-term things. This is the Toolkit RC M9, and out of all the chargers I have, and I have a lot, this is the one I keep on my desk. And the reason I keep it on my desk is that little flippy screen right there. Flippy screens are nice because now I can set this anywhere on my desk and I can see what this is doing. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. And also the charger's competent. I mean, I did a review on it. I don't remember the specs off the top of my head. 600 watts at 20 amps. It's a competent charger. So I really like this one a lot. And it also provides a little desktop power supply of 5 volts. No matter what I do, I always know that that's 5 volts. So if I need to plug something in, I'm pretty much plugging stuff in with impunity with this because I know it's 5 volts. So anyway, Robert hit the tip jar. I appreciate you, Robert. G2 says, I wanted to ask what receiver you'll be using on the M4. I'm trying to use the TX6NIS, but can't find the R161. Hey, buddy, I'm sorry to say, but I am using the R161 because when they were still out, I bought a big stack of them. I hoarded them. So, yeah, it's going to be a 161. Sorry. You could probably use any, I hate to say the Evil Empire's name, but any of their D16 S-Bus will work because you can do F-port, and it is supported by Spirit. It is supported by Spirit. So if you want to look at like an XSR, XSR Plus, RXSR, any of those FlySky postage stamp S-Bus receivers with F-port, that's the key. You want F-port? It does work with Spirit GT. I am getting telemetry over a single wire, just like I did on my Icon. So I, so far, really kind of dig the Spirit stuff. So far. That doesn't count, Robert, because it's Canadian. It all counts, Hobie. It all counts. Thank you, Robert. Don't listen to him. You guys are poking fun at Robert. Okay. Next up, we're gonna spend a little time looking at some FlySky stuff. So, yeah, William Cox has a big supply. Yeah, I ordered those up, man. When I knew all that nonsense was going on, I bought them up. I bought a box of them. I have a lot of them, and I intend to keep them. All right, so the FlySky receiver, I want to show you guys something really kind of cool. We're going to be using the PL18 for the demo for this, but I wanted to show you guys some really cool stuff by FlySky. So first, we're going to do receiver. And then we're going to talk about some of the FlySky sensors. Okay. Now, I do want to tell you guys, hang tight, because this is coming to a TX16S near you. It's on the way. It's on the way. It's already happening. I already have the gear. I've already bound the receiver that supports this to a TX16S. Already been done. All right. So just all I can tell you is that while I'm going to show you on FlySky, if you have a PL18, it works out of the box. You're good to go. And it works well. And I'm going to show you how it works on the PL18. So we're going to do that. By the way, this is going to be a production video as well. I will be doing this video in production. I'll go into a lot more detail in production. I'm just going to give you guys the quick look. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one of these enhanced receivers. This is called a TR8B. And I like their packaging. They all come in these little hard cases that are stackable. I like that a lot. I've already been inside this receiver. It does not come this way. You have to solder the second set of pins on. So I soldered this set of pins on. You have to do it on the front and back. And you also have to solder this white wire on. This is the BVD, they call it, battery voltage detect. This is the new current sensor for FlySky. And this is why I was so interested in trying this, because it's a simple single wire with a resistor. I don't like the fact that it's got a resistor. I'd rather see that on the board, but it is what it is, and it does work. You just have to solder that on right there. There's a little pad. You just have to solder it on right there, and you do have to solder these pins on, and you have to configure the radio to use these ports for iBus. So I'm going to show you real quick on how to do this. This is an 8, believe it or not, this is a freaking 8-channel receiver. You got 3 pins here, 2 rows. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8-channel receiver, and it does iBus 2. Very cool stuff, and S-Bus. So this could be an S-Bus receiver. Does not do F-port. It's S-Bus. Okay. All right. So let's. The first thing we're going to do is bind it up. Now, what I want to show you about binding this thing is it's actually really cool too. You click on Basic on the radio, and then RF settings, bind settings, and you have to set it to the right one. We're going to look for fast 8-channel, and that's for the TR8B. Now, they have a really interesting way of doing this bind. There is no binding plug, and there's no binding button, which is another thing I actually really kind of like about this thing. So all I'm going to do first is put my radio in bind mode, and I'm going to ignore the warning. Then I'm going to apply power. And what will happen, assuming I get the plugs in the right direction, I think signal goes in on this one. Nope, signal must go out on this one. I can't read. There it goes. So you see the fast blink and then the red stop? See where it stopped right there? It's bound. And the radio shows it is bound already. So that's kind of cool, because that's all you have to do now. Anytime, like if you unplug this, as long as it's bound and the radio is on, it'll find it. What'll happen is it will go into bind mode automatically if it doesn't see its transmitter. I kind of like that. I like that technology. I think that's cool. I like it. Because just imagine, you don't have to worry about reaching the bind button on this anymore. It's almost like a binding phrase, but not as complicated, because you don't have to go into software first. All you have to do is put your radio in bind mode and then plug it in. As soon as it sees your radio, bam, you're done. You're good to go. And it works on TX16S the same way, same exact way. Okay, so that was the first thing I want to show you. That's the receiver, this is the TR8B. This is what they call an enhanced receiver, all right? So the next thing I want to show you are some of these sensors. We're going to get into the sensors, because the sensors are kind of cool. Before I do, I'm going to click on the radio. I'm going to bring up the sensor window, and I'm going to show you guys what we've got. Right now, we've got TX voltage, RX voltage, signal, RSSI, SNR noise, and BVD voltage. See the BVD voltage? Now, I'm just going to prove to you that that works. What you would normally do, because it needs a ground to complete the circuit. So I can't just plug it into the battery, because I'm using the power supply. So normally what you do is you simply plug this into the power lead on your balance lead, and that's it. That's all you got to do. But because I'm using a power supply, I'm going to use the positive voltage pin on this. Let me just move this. I'll make it easier for me to get to. I'm just going to use the power pin on my power supply voltage in, And what I want you to do is keep an eye on this guy. Let me zoom in so you can see it. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So look at that one that says BVD voltage. You see how it says 0.0? I'm just going to touch this on here and see how it jumped to 4.9 right there, 4.9. Now if I let go, back down to 0. So that's your voltage. There's your voltage sensor on these enhanced receivers. I told FlySky when I learned how this worked, I said, man, I really would like to see that, if you don't mind. And when they sent me this latest batch of hardware, they sent me a BVD based receiver. Again, this is all coming to a TX16S near you if you don't have a PL18. If you have a PL18, works out of the box, right out of the box, works perfectly. All right, so that's the first thing. There's your battery sensor. Now, let's compare that. This is why I wanted to show you guys this. Okay, let's compare that. Here's the small one from the other example. Here's the small FlySky version that does the same exact thing, except no gyro. If I were to compare that to the other FlySky option, this is the old generation, right? This is the old way of doing it, the older way of doing it. This is the new way. These two are functionally equivalent because you can put S-Bus out on one of these pins. So S-Bus, I-Bus, I-Bus 2, you can actually do more on this one than you can on this one. So here's the old way. Here's the new way. This is 6-channel. This is 8. Is that crazy? And this is still a good receiver. It's not like this is a bad device. It's a good device. But here's the new way. All right. So little tiny thing. It's got the BVD sensor and it supports all the fancy new FlySky iBus 2 sensors that you're about to see. I'm about to show you these. All right. So let me see here. The next thing we need to do, I just want to show you in the RF settings what you have to make sure of in order for the sensors to work. This is all you, let me back up. I want to make sure you guys can see it. So from the main screen, I'm going to click on Basic, RX Setting, Custom Port Protocol. Okay. Now in here, notice you got 2 pins, MPA and MPB. They're marked on the receiver. It's going to be probably really hard for me to get this, but they are marked. Let me see. This one is MPA, and then I think it's on this side. This is NPB. So these pins are, that's MPB, and on this side it's MPA. So I'm going to use the MPA side. All you have to do is put, and I put them both in iBus 2. So when you put both of these pins in iBus 2 mode, that means they work with their sensors. That's it. That's all you got to do. It's very simple, and it's a one-time shot deal. Once you do that, you're good to go. So that's the radio setup, real simple. Now let's go back to the sensor list. And remember, we end on BVD voltage, okay? So the first one I'm going to do is take out the altitude meter. So for you guys who are out there flying, gliders and you're looking for the Vario, I have not done any audible testing to see, if I can get this thing to give me noise, like a climbing noise or descending noise. I don't know that. But this is a altitude sensor by FlySky. This one is called the IBA01. Come on, camera. Focus. Camera. It's not going to focus. There it is. IBA01 altitude meter. That's it. It's that big. One wire. And all you have to do is plug this into your sensor MBA. Let's see. I got to find it again. Man, I cannot see. That little line goes right across my line of sight. MPA. MPA, where are you? Oh, you're on this side. That's B. That's A. Okay. So let me see if I can get this one right. We'll do the signal lead outbound. And I've got a red light on the sensor. That's the altitude sensor. And I'm going to leave this screen and then go back in. And we're going to, there it is, right there, it popped up. You see that? Height PR 30 feet. Check that out. So that's how easy it is to add the altitude sensor. Height PR, it says I'm at 26 feet, which is probably about right. That's probably about right. And there you go. So there's an altitude sensor. Plug that in, off you go. Now, this is a serial protocol. My understanding is that you should be able to put these on a bus. It's a bus protocol. So you should be able to put iBus, right? It says secrets in the title, iBus. And it says you can put it, I'm sure you can put multiple in together. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure you can. The next one I want to show you is the GPS sensor. Let's see. What did someone say? Hose, or also should I use the mini icon or full size icon? Doesn't matter. G2, they're same functionality. The M4 will take a full size fly barless, so it's up to you. I think the full size is more convenient because the connections are standard, but it's the same. Quick plug for MK Lou. Check out his channel for a lot of cool stuff. Thanks, bud. Was just building a new quad and saw the channel live. Thought I'd drop in for some RC fun. Okay, awesome. Come to the right place. Better late than never. Always on a live stream. Cool. How's the video been doing? Are we good? It seems like, based on what I can see, the status has been excellent. So are we happy? Video stream looking okay? All right, let's do the next one. This one's the GPS, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring the radio down so you guys can see it. And we're just going to plug the GPS one in. And again, I think this one is sensor out or signal out. So plug that in, and we're looking for lights on the GPS. There we go. Now I'm going to leave, and we'll go right back into the sensor menu. And there we go. We've got height GPS, distance GPS, velocity GPS, which is really cool. Really cool stuff. But there's more. But wait, there's more. Sensor setup. And we're going to do height GPS. And when I click on this little screen, we can go to this screen. And here's the deal. Watch the attitude meter. You see that? So I'm just turning the GPS, and you can see it right here in the attitude indicator. So if I pitch down, there's a hard pitch down. Here's a hard pitch up. The only thing I'm not sure about, and I haven't found an easier way to get to this screen yet. Hopefully, maybe FlySky can help me out here because I'm not sure. But let me just show you what it takes to get to that screen, because you would think that you could click on basic and maybe see GPS right here, or that you could do, I think I have the, nope, not that way. There's a quick menu here somewhere. Nope, not that way. Nope, not that way. I don't know where I put the quick access stuff. But anyway, you'd think they'd have GPS on here, but they don't. Oh, quick access. It's right here. There it is. There's where I'd expect to see a GPS icon where I could get to that screen really fast, but I don't see it. So if anybody knows, if you know the PL18 and you know a real fast way to get to that GPS screen, let me know in comments or in the chat. I'd like to know. I don't see an option in any of these icons to do it. So here's the only way that I know to do it. And that's from the home screen. You click on the sensors. It might be possible if you click on this one, it might be possible to do this and then this. Yeah, that's pretty fast. That's only 2 clicks. That wasn't too bad. So the way you do that is you just make sure you're on your sensor screen, which is home 1. And then you see your GPS. You have to configure that ahead of time, by the way. Click on that and then click on this box, and there you go. You're into the GPS screen. So I think that's kind of cool too. That's a neat little feature for GPS. By the way, like I said, this is coming to Radio Master. You guys are going to be able to do this soon. Now, you won't have that little attitude indicator, maybe an iNav or something. I don't know. But this is built into the PL18. This is not a Radio Master thing. This is built in the PL18. So really cool little feature. There's the GPS. I thought that was kind of neat. I like that because why not? Why not just plug, you just plug that into your receiver real quick and take it for a flight and see what your speeds are, right? Isn't that kind of cool? And on Radio Master, I already know the logic I could do to do that. So you have the plus telemetry, right? That always shows your max. So you could use this to do a quick little speed test and it's plug and play. I love it. Very cool. Very cool little sensor. All right. So that's that one. We did the altitude. We did GPS. Next one I want to show you guys is the temperature sensor. This one's kind of cool too. I mean, this is just a little simple sensor, very lightweight. And we simply get it out of the box. And it's same as all the others, except this one also has the temperature paddle, right? So there's the temperature lead that you can put anywhere that you need to see what's going on temperature-wise. There's your thermistor. Okay, so what I'll do is just same deal. Plug it in. Signal goes out. Now on the sensor screen, we'll have to go back to the sensor setup, and we'll probably... Oh, look, it already cleaned it up too. That's the other thing I kind of like about what's going on is notice the sensor screen already removed the disconnected sensor and replaced it with the new one. I kind of like that too. Why not? You know, why not? Maybe one reason you might not want to do that on the TX16S though is that if you use these sensors in your screen setups and they took them out, that would blow up your screen setups of your widgets. So maybe that's why they don't do that on the TX16S. But just to give you a quick look, I'm just going to grab the sensor and pinch it. And you can see temperatures going up, 95, 95.7. I don't have COVID, yay, that's cool. And there we go, should go back down to a normal temperature. So there's a temperature sensor. Real cool, simple little setup. If you need to monitor things like temperature, there's a little temperature setup for FlySky. And this one, let me make sure I get the number right. This is, sorry. This is the FSIBT01 temperature sensor. Come on, camera, work with me a little bit. There it is. FlySky, it sees the radio. There it is. FlySky IBT01 temperature sensor. Pretty cool, right? Neat. I like it. And then I've got one more to show you. This one is the RPM sensor, and I have not even opened the box on this one yet. You know what? I'm not going to bother with this one. It's going to be the same thing. If you want to see this one show up on the production video, and you can check that one out. But there's an RPM sensor, and that one is the FlySky IBS01 RPM sensor. It's going to work the same way. It's going to work the same. It's just going to plug it in right into that little port, and off you go. Bob's your uncle. It's going to come right up. All right. So there you go. I just there's a little rundown on a technology. This is, now keep in mind the protocol AFH-DS3. This is not available in your multi-protocol module. You can't use this in your multi-protocol module. This requires something extra. And that something extra is something that I referred to a little bit earlier in the live stream. It doesn't want me turning off the radio because I haven't turned off the transmitter. And that would be this little lovely gem that I can't show you yet. So that is a FlySky module on the way. Right now, unfortunately, sadly, this requires a hack inside the radio. It takes you about 10 minutes, not particularly hard to do. It's a little bit of a rewire thing, but I've done the hack and it does work. So all I'm going to tell you about it is that with that module, I can bind AFH-DS3, and I can even bind the enhanced modules, which means all those lovely little sensors that you just saw are going to be available on your TX16S. Now, you might be saying, John, why do we care about this FlySky stuff on a Radio Master? Well, the simple answer is 12 bits and 12 bits. And where's the other one? $15. That's why we care. Oh, and 12 bits. So these are over-the-air protocols that can get you a higher amount of resolution than you can with some of the other protocols that are available out there. So once the interoperability stuff is done, and I will tell you guys right now, I think the Edge guys have some work to do. I've already been talking to the developers about some of the issues that I've found. So, you know, I've been flashing some very customized firmware on this radio and trying some different things out. So there's some work to be done, but it's coming. That's the important thing. It's on the way. So if you're looking for an over-the-air protocol option that works with FlySky, and you're looking for that 12-bit resolution, and you're looking for some sensor options and some one-wire battery sensors, you don't even pay for a battery sensor. It's included in the receiver. It doesn't cost extra. So, and look how small it was. Like, all these things are coming to the TX16S. Now, you pair that up with a really nice set of AG01 gimbals, a 12-bit over-the-air protocol, some killer sensors and telemetry. Now you're talking my language, right? Because I already told you I'm into and choose to stay into getting voltage on my planes. And I got to be honest with you, I was talking with while I was setting up the OMP Hobby M4. We were looking at the RPM and we were kind of wondering, like, wait, is that the right RPM? It'd be kind of nice to have had an RPM sensor just to check it out, right? Be kind of cool. So that's it. That's it on the sensor stuff. I'm going to go back to the desktop. I'm going to check the questions, but I knew that these sensors were going to be interesting. I'm very grateful that FlySky sent them out to me. I do want to say thanks to FlySky for sending those units out for review. If you want to see them in more detail, where I'll cover the specs, you know, the ranges and stuff like that, watch the production video and I'll go through all the details on the specs. So let's see, just your struggles. It's solid. IE6B has a hack. The only requires one wire to get battery voltage. No other sensor needed. Ooh, Robert, that sounds cool. Well, it doesn't surprise me. That might have been the predecessor to the BVD that they're using on the enhanced ones, right? 4 Eyes, all coming to Radio Master. That's right, man. That's right, brother. They're all coming to Radio Master. They're all coming to Radio Master. What did you do to Precious? Do you guys want to see what I did to Precious? It's going to take, you're going to have to give me a minute. I'm going to have to download a picture, but let me go ahead and get it. You guys want to see it? You got to be patient with me. I'm going to have to find the, I did actually take pictures of the hacking that went on to the poor radio. So just a moment. I have it. Thankfully we have the cloud. The cloud will show us. All right, let's see. There it is. There's the image. Let's see. You guys want to see what happened to poor little Precious? I got to tell you, man, Precious was the guinea pig this time. Precious was definitely we're done with the Hobby Eagle. We don't need to do that anymore. We can close out of that. And here is what happened to Precious. So in order for this little mod to work, you guys are seeing behind the screen stuff now. You see the green screen. You normally don't see this. I try and hide that from you. But there it is. That's what happened to Precious. It needs a little bit of a mod to the wiring on the 4-in-1. So you need to steal a couple of the pins from the 4-in-1 connector here and bring those down to the aux port on the board. So a little bit of soldering. It wasn't hard. It wasn't a hard mod, but you do have to be ready to solder on your motherboard. You have to be willing to do that, and you also have to have the right little cables to make this work too. So that's what happened to poor little Precious, Hobie. Poor Precious. Precious she got mugged. I mean, what else can you say? She got mugged. So that's what happened to Precious. A little bit of a modification, and honestly, it was a violation. It was a violation on the radio, but I did it on this one because I figured if anything went south, I didn't want it to happen on the radios that I was actually taking to the field and flying, because I didn't want to switch radios. They've got my AG01s, and I'm used to the pots and all my buttons and rings and all, LED rings and all that stuff. I just didn't want to mess with it. So Precious got mugged. A total violation. She got torn apart and adjusted. So we'll leave it at that. All right, let's see. What other questions are there before we move on? Just smiling. She's smiling at you, Robert. Yeah, she is. So Precious had a hysterectomy. Is that what you're saying? It's good now. Yeah, I don't think there'll be any more Preciouses, Robert. This will be the one and only. One day I might auction this radio. I might have to put it up for auction someday. Except it will not ever go to Canada. So if you're Canadian, forget it. Deal's off. All right, let's see. FlySky Sensors, that's that. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, the cheap LiPo killer. Yeah. So, I have every now and then, I've got a battery, like when the laser crashed, the 6S 5000 battery, it died. It got crumbled. And because it got crumbled, it didn't actually catch fire, but I knew that I couldn't fly with it anymore. I wouldn't fly with it anymore. Here's another example. Look, the Velcro is even coming off this thing. That's terrible. This thing looks like it woke up on the wrong side of a 3-night hangover. But there's the battery. Look at, and by the way, guys, you start getting all this, internal resistance from cell to cell on your batteries, and they get puffy like this. It's time. You got to let them go. It's like the Vikings with Valhalla. You got to put it on the raft and let it go. Let it go to Valhalla. You got to let it go. Stop flying them. That's the moral of the story. But what I wanted to show you is a real cheap, and I put a link for these in the description for you already. So there's the battery. It had to be killed. And here's the tool that I used to do it. This is just an 8 ohm, 100 watt resistor. Again, I put a link in the description. You have to forgive the janky wiring that I did. It wasn't really intended to be a permanent thing. But all I did was I put my little banana clips on, and I just wrapped some baling wire around it just to hold them onto the terminals. There's no polarity on these things. It doesn't matter which side is hot. You could solder the wires on if you wanted to make it permanent. You could do that. I just kind of grabbed the one that I had. It was just handy. So I just wrapped some wire around there. So very janky looking for sure. And all I need is a little coaster. This is a ceramic coaster on my desk, and I set it down, and then you simply plug it in. And what'll end up happening, there is a formula. I'm going to tell you guys the formula real quick. It's volts over resistance will tell you your amps. So real quick, if we go back to the workspace and I pop up a calculator, let's bring up a calculator, and we'll say for argument's sake that this particular battery was, say when I started, it was actually 3.9 times 3. So 11.7 volts divided by resistance. This is an 8 ohm resistor. Divide by 8. That means 1.4 amps is the rate at which it discharges. Now, With that said, it's going to get hot. So don't sit and screw around with it. Don't sit here and go, ugh, you know, put your hand, it'll burn the hell out of you. It gets hot. But as long as you're within the spec of the resistor, you can do this, no problem. And it just simply discharges the battery. Now, every time I've ever talked about load and discharge, I always get someone come in and go, I use halogens. Okay, that's cool. You can use incandescents. You could use a ceiling fan. You could use whatever you want for load. The point in showing you this is that these are cheap. It cost me like $4 or $5 for 2 of these. And it's simple. You just wire one lead to one side, another lead to the other side. Get yourself a battery connector, plug your battery in, put it on a hot plate, and let it discharge, and Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. Am I saying Bob's your uncle too many times tonight? What's going on? It's because Elias is here. That's the problem. Elias is here, and now because he's here, I'm trying to make it entertaining for him and speak in his language, and there you go. So that's where Bob's your uncle comes from. It's Elias's fault. All right, now she's ready for you, Robert. We want an RCVR production presses. I'm with you, Hobie. You guys need to write to Radio Master and say, hey, where's my RCVR edition radio? I'd love to make one of those. I have ideas. I know what to do. So Tim Barr says, add a few to draw it down faster. Sure, you could add these in parallel if you want to draw it down a little faster. That's no problem. HB Jeff says, hi from California. Better late than missing it live. California? What the heck is going on in California? Anyway, cheap LiPo discharger. I thought you guys might get a kick out of that. The only reason I brought it up tonight is because I was actually discharging some dead batteries. Look at this one. Look at this poor little thing. This looks like it's been a victim. Same thing. It's a bad hangover party. This is one of the oldest batteries I have. It's a 3-cell 1000. It's just time for it to go. Look, even the balance wire broke. But yeah, it's time for it to go. It's simple matter. Just plug it in. Set it on your hot plate, and off you go. And I'll tell you guys, man, don't monkey around. That gets hot. It's already getting hot. So don't mess with that. That's why a hot plate. Okay, but the battery does not need to be on a hot plate. It's fine if you set the battery down. Also would advise you, do not walk away. Like don't just put this in the middle of your desk and go to bed. That'd be a terribly bad idea. You got to watch this stuff. So, you know, it should be okay. I've discharged plenty of batteries this way. You bring it down to 0 and it's fine. If you really want to be sure, what you do is you cut these ends off, solder them or twist them together, and then you can literally throw this in the garbage. Once you've discharged this down to 0 volts, it's inert. It's essentially not much more than cardboard and tinfoil. You can throw it away once you've discharged it down to 0. The main thing to do is to cut these leads and twist them or solder them. Solder them would be better. That way you know they're not coming apart. And if you're smart, you cut them down here and you can save yourself an XT60 or an XT30 if you need it. So cut them down here, twist it, solder it, throw it in the garbage. But make sure it's down to 0 first. Do not connect these if it's not down to 0 unless you really want some excitement in your life. Okay, make sure they're down to 0 first. But cheap little battery discharger. Yep, that's hot. Cheap little battery discharger. It's like a few dollars and it's a killer. It will kill the battery dead. All right. So if you need to retire batteries, that's how I do it. I just make this little mechanism. I set it where I can see it and keep an eye on it. And I go about my work and I kill the batteries. And then when I'm done, I throw them in the garbage. Alternatively, if these kinds of things make you nervous, you don't have to do it that way. You could also take them to your local recycle facility, like your landfill. If you have one, you can bring it there. A lot of times they'll do battery disposal, and a lot of retail locations will also take care of battery disposal for you, like Home Depot and some Batteries Plus stores. They'll also do it for you. So if these kind of things make you a little squeamish, you don't want to mess with it, don't hesitate to do that as well. Hey, and you know something? I just realized I'm sitting here watching comments scroll by, and I just wanted to say thanks to Hobie too for hitting the tip jar. Hobie, thank you very much, man. Very kind of you for hitting the tip jar. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you. That all goes to the channel for more stuff. You never try hammering a nail through the middle and seeing if you can get through all cells. Yeah, that's fun to do if you're outside and you're careful, but you know, I don't like to show that stuff because I don't want to see someone get hurt for my advice. That's the main reason. I don't want to, but yeah, you know, if you're adventurous, sure, drive a nail through it. Hit it with an axe. It's all fun. Green blink for my TX16S to match my green AG01 gimbals. Green AG01 gimbals. Wow, I'd like to see a picture of that. All right, wait, I need this on the screen so we have something to look at, or should we do Precious? Robert hasn't been around and seeing Precious for a while. Worth every penny. Well, appreciate you, Hobie. Thank you, man. Thank you. All right, Q&A. Let's get over to the Blackboard and we're going to take a look at some Q&A. This is user Q&A. If you haven't been here for this before, what I like to do is try and talk a little bit about, I look for questions that I see a pattern, a recurring theme. They're not always the same exact question, of course. Sometimes they're different. But I like to, when I see a common recurrence, I like to bring these questions on and maybe answer the question, and hopefully Doug Erickson, he's the guy who asked this question, he'll join the Pilot Jam and he can get an answer to his question, because this is where I'm going to answer it. He says, I've been struggling to compile a working firmware for my Horus 12 from a fixed repository on GitHub. So that's the first problem. I don't know what a fixed repository on GitHub means. I just don't know what that means. The best thing to do would be to use the standard firmware, because fixed repositories, that could be somebody's fork. I mean, I don't know what that means. And specifically addressing the scroll wheel acceleration. So obviously he's got a problem with the scroll wheel accelerator. I've not once gotten the firmware to boot the radio and compiled with many different options. I've asked elsewhere with no response, so I'm asking the expert. Okay, the two things that I would say on this, one would be, hey, get on the EdgeTX GitHub, or not GitHub, Discord. Get on the EdgeTX GitHub. Sorry, I just said it again. You want to talk about being ingrained. How many times have you heard me say get on the EdgeTX GitHub? Get on the EdgeTX Discord and be prepared to give them some details, because here's the deal. If they have some code that's fixing things like wheel acceleration and it's not booting the radio, they probably want to know that. I would assume they'd want to know that. What I can say for myself, you guys know I don't have much in the way of FlySky hardware, so I'm really not positioned the best to answer. I appreciate the compliment, so I'm asking the expert. Very nice, but I'm not in a position to help because I don't have the hardware. And without the hardware, I really am not going to be much help in troubleshooting what's going on. You kind of need the hardware to see it, and I need specifics. So what I would encourage you to do, Doug, is get on the EdgeTX Discord and let them know specifically what's going on. And I would encourage you guys that I'm happy to answer questions when I can. I think you guys know that. Last year on YouTube, when I got my into your stats, it said I responded to 30,000 questions. You believe that? 30,000 questions. I don't even want to do the math on that. That's what it said. 30,000 questions. Unbelievable. Okay, so get on the EdgeTX Discord and let them know what you're seeing, and they can help you. Okay, next one. This is from Brian. He says, would you consider doing a how-to on how to change the output to 2 watts on the Ranger module? Okay, so obviously that video is out there and it's not hard to follow. It's actually quite simple. It's very simple. But the reason I don't show how to do that kind of thing, there are two reasons. One is because if you're dealing with a part 15 device and your Radio Master TX16S is part 15, and I show you how to do that, then I'm really kind of, I don't want to say I'm liable, but you wouldn't surprise me if some lawyer somewhere, if this dude flew his Ranger into a football game at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then said, well, it's John's fault because he told me how to fly that thing 30 miles away by turning my module up to 2 watts, and then suddenly I'm liable, So that's one reason. I'm not saying Brian would do that. I'm sure Brian's an upstanding guy, and I'm sure he would never think about doing something like that. But we all know there are asshats in this world that wouldn't think twice about dropping a dime on somebody if they could blame somebody else for their misadventures, right? So that's the main reason I won't show it. And it's basically a violation of Part 15 compliance. And the second reason is it's not necessary unless you're really doing some very long-range stuff. On a 2.4 gigahertz radio with 1 watt, you can fly it for like 35 miles. I mean, I guess if you're flying in bandos or abandoned buildings and you're having obstructions, maybe, I guess. But anyway, I wanted you guys to know that I'm not a prude. I'm not your daddy. I don't really care what you do to your stuff. You know how I am. Man, leave me alone. Go do your thing. If you want to fly 2 watts, go ahead. I don't care. That's up to you. Just be cool about it. Don't hurt my stuff when you do. That's my mentality about these things. But I just don't want to be the one to show you. And it's not because I'm prude, man. I'm just saying mine may or may not already be at 2 watts. Mine may or may not have been at 2 watts the second I took it out of the box. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But the thing is, I'm not your dad, so I don't really care if you do it. But you know how it is these days in the legal world. I just don't want to be that guy that says, oh, I've been served with a lawsuit because some guy landed his quad on the top of a nude sunbather convention in Clearwater. You know, I just don't need it. So that's why I don't do it. All right, Grey Wolf, he says, I was wanting to download the latest sound pack for EdgeTX, but the GitHub page is nothing like you are showing here. Okay, stop. The GitHub has not changed since I started doing these videos. So the problem that you're having, Grey Wolf, is that you're not following the video. Something is missing because I don't make this stuff up. If I show you the GitHub, that's the GitHub. I don't make that stuff up. So it's not like it's different from what you just missed something. So the moral of the story, though, isn't to correct Grey Wolf about navigating GitHub. The moral of the story is stop being lazy, get your butt over on GitHub and start clicking on stuff. Check it out. Just spend a little time navigating around. It's not that hard. You guys can do this. GitHub is easy to navigate. Once you've been there and you spend a few moments on it, it's really not that hard to navigate around. So I'm going to help you out. I'm going to bring up the workspace real quick. I'm going to hide the questions for a second. I'm going to bring the workspace up and we're going to take a look at GitHub. And I'm telling you guys, we don't need this camera. That camera can go away. So I'm just showing you guys, like, here's the GitHub. Everything is here. The user manual, the buddy RC is there. The reference guide, the SD card. It's all, oops, let me scroll up because I realized just now I'm all the way at the bottom of my screen. There we go. So here we go. LibUI, the reference guide, Lua reference guide, the SD card sitting right there. It's right there. I'm not making this stuff up. I didn't change it. If you click on SD card and click on the latest, there it is. All you got to do is just spend a little time navigating around. You know, and I'm not trying to get in Grey Wolf's business. Again, I'm not his dad. He can do whatever the hell he wants, but the GitHub hasn't changed since I started doing these videos fundamentally. So I'm just saying it's all there. If you want EdgeTX, it's right there. It's the first link. And right here on the right-hand side, it says release 2.8.2. It's right there. You scroll down and here's all the content. You guys have to do some of this stuff on your own, man. I mean, I love to help, you know, but I'm not your personal freaking Google. You got to get on here and you got to do some of this stuff on your own. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You gotta help yourself. Help me, help you, help you, help me, help you. Right? You know what I mean? I'm trying to help, but you got to do some of the work here. I didn't change GitHub. It's there. Trust me, it's there. You just got to spend a minute, man. Get out there and start clicking on stuff. You'll figure it out. Spoon feeding should be against the law, says Robert. Yeah, I mean, I like answering an honest question, man. I really do. I like to try and help, especially the honest questions. But I mean, what the hell, man? It's not. What am I gonna say? It's there. You just have to. Who's your daddy? I'm not your daddy. That's right. Who's your daddy? We used to say that when I was a teenager. Who's your daddy? I think it was in a movie or something. Anyway, that's enough of that. I just wanted to show you guys. You gotta own it a little. You know, get out there and start clicking on stuff. You can't hurt anything. Believe me, if those developers thought you were hurting their stuff, they'd hack into your computer and steal your credit cards. No, they wouldn't. They're nice guys. They might hack your computer though. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for that one. Grey Wolf, get out there, man. Start clicking around. You'll figure it out. Wear a head cam. I love this one. This is hilarious because C rode a flying solo. We had the crash, and Dave didn't catch the crash because he had to rest his arms. And C rode a flying says, wear a head cam. Can you believe that? If you guys follow this channel for more than a hot minute, you already know my answer to this. I had that GoPro for years. I strapped it to my head. It couldn't zoom. People were out like, man, you got to be able to zoom more. We can't see anything out. You got to zoom. You know, so I go out and invest in the camera. We do the zoom. Dave and I learn how to work it. We're doing 8-bit RAW. I'm doing color grading in DaVinci. I've got this whole fancy color card. We've got 10x optical zoom. We're scrolling. We're zooming. I've got a wireless zoom module. We got the tripod. We got all this stuff. First thing I get, wear a head cam. Man, I wanted to, I needed a drink when I saw that. But Dave, we're going to have to get Dave some dumbbells so he can do some workouts and keep that camera up in the air, man. That's all I can say. Wear a head cam. No, there will be no more head cams. Head cam. What? Oh, I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop. Blood pressure got up. To be honest, John, we all heard it in your voice when he didn't get it on the camera. I asked him like right away, did you get it on camera? He said, nope. I was like, ah. But you know, what can you say? Dave's there to help. Yeah, he does the best he can. He missed it. He missed it. That's all there is to it, man. You're never going to fault someone who's trying to help me. Never. That's just not the way I roll. Not the way I roll. I was sad he didn't catch it, but that's all there was to it. All right, let's see. Scott says, boy, this question has been coming up, man, a lot lately. I guess the RCVR1 videos are out there. I'm going to post this link in the description after the video's over. This is the link for the RCVR1 model. If you're on Discord, you can search for it. It's available as an STL download. It's free. The only thing that I've asked is that this model not be used for commercial or YouTube purposes. That's it. Other than that, you want to use it for demonstrating to a class, to a club, you know, to practice on the bench with your own setups. That's all fine. It's available for download. You can print it yourself. Link is in Discord. I'll put the link in the description so you can watch the video, learn a little bit about it. But I've been getting this question a lot lately. Where do I get this RCVR1 model? It's in Discord. That's where it is. And by the way, this kind of goes along with the question I had last week, which was, you know, can you please upload the file to RC groups? No, it's all going to be on Discord. So if you want it, if you want my software or my files, you're going to have to get on Discord. And this goes back to the spoon feeding thing either. I'm not going to spoon feed. You want help, you know, get on Discord. Robert wants to know how far it'll fly. Well, I don't know. If we strap a motor on it, I don't know. Maybe it could go pretty far. I think anything will fly with the right motor. All right. Let's see. Chokachai, is that it? He says, EdgeTX, how to set fail-safe. This is another recurring question that I see a lot. And the answer applies to multiple facets of the concept of the NPM. So first things first, things like fail-safe are not EdgeTX dependent. That has nothing to do with EdgeTX. All right, I'm going to repeat that because this blows people away. They're like, wait, what? When you set fail-safe, that is not an EdgeTX function. That is a multi-protocol module function. Now, EdgeTX facilitates some elements of it. So for example, depending on your receiver, EdgeTX will present you with some elements like no pulses, hold, receiver, custom, none, right? So those options are presented, but that's simply a presentation mechanism. The protocol itself is what dictates whether or not you can set fail-safe on the receiver. That's not an EdgeTX call. That's about the protocol. So the simple answer is, if the protocol supports it, EdgeTX will show it. That's the simple answer. If the protocol supports it, EdgeTX will show it. Okay? Same thing goes with the fail-safe or the frequency fine-tune. If it's supported by the protocol, EdgeTX shows it. If EdgeTX shows it, you should use it. All right. It's real simple. So I get these questions about protocols and fail-safes all the time. And the answer is that it's protocol dependent. You have to pay attention to the protocol. If the protocol supports it, EdgeTX will show it. Okay. Real simple answer. That one comes up quite a bit. All right. And then we're back to number one. This is Doug's question about compiling working firmware. So that takes care of the Q&A. Now I'm going to go back and check the comments and we'll see what's going on. JDM Dino System says probably using a Mac. Hey, you want to know something? Jonathan, when I'm not using stuff for YouTube and editing, oddly enough, editing videos, I'm on a Mac. That's what I use for my personal machine. Drinking Bud Light. I don't know who's drinking Bud Light. I'm not your daddy drinking Bud Light. BSR, I guess that's a comment on time to drink. BSR, if images are too big for widgets, it will freeze your EdgeTX. Interesting. I haven't had that happen, but I have had it just not show anything. So I've seen that, but I haven't seen it freeze EdgeTX. BSR, if that's something you can replicate, you need to open a ticket, an issue on the EdgeTX GitHub. Go to the EdgeTX GitHub and open an issue and let them know, because not okay for anything to freeze your widgets or your EdgeTX. Shouldn't do that. Robert says, to be honest, John, we all heard it in your voice. Yeah, we covered that one. How far will it fly? That's what I want to know. Rambo, GitHub TX3441 appear to be addressing the scroll acceleration issues associated with the Horus X10 and X10, according to the quick Google search. X12S, you guys talking about that? Okay. So it's there, what you're saying, Rambo. He just didn't look. Yes. Okay. Where's the model wizard? What model wizard? We don't do model wizards. We're not doing Model Wizard videos. So that's exactly what I was going to say about do your homework. You just have to do your homework. When you learn how to do it and you remember it. That's right. And guys, ask honest questions. Like, don't sit and struggle with things forever on your own. You know, if you're talking about a configuration thing or a protocol thing or something, you know, don't be afraid to ask the questions. That's okay. That's always okay. And I can tell you on our Discord, everyone's really pretty generous, even though so many times we've answered the same question a dozen times. So everyone's pretty generous about that. So don't be afraid to get on Discord and ask questions. But yeah, be honest though. That's the thing. I think the message is we're not here to be your personal Google. If you can Google something, then Google it. But you know, if you're not getting a clear explanation, then that's fine. It's fair ball to ask for help. No worries. Do we already talk about the 67-inch Skywing plug-and-play shipping cost yet? We have not. Let's talk about that. We're not going to do a big thing. I'll just mention there's a big conversation on Discord about the 67-inch plug-and-play, and I'm not going to judge anything. I'm just going to tell you the facts of the case. The facts of the case are $333 to ship that plane from Georgia to Florida. The plane is only $1,000, so $333. They're saying it's due to box size. Now, my problem with that is I've had 78-inch boxes sent to me that are at least no bigger, and they were only like, you know, $120. So I don't know what's going on with that, but the plug and play versions are available on Extreme Flight. Just be aware, don't get your hopes up, because right now shipping costs are quite high. Now, because we are a pretty cool group of people, and this is where the cool kids hang out in reality, I'm going to give you guys a pro tip. And the pro tip is going to be that in my conversations and requests to Extreme Flight, I said, hey, what's the deal? They said, it's the box size. We can't do anything about it. I don't believe Extreme Flight is being underhanded or sneaky. I don't believe that. I just think there's something like wrong dimensionally or with the rates or something. Like there's something going on. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's Extreme Flight being underhanded. I don't think that's the case. But here's the pro tip for you guys. If you go to pirateship.com, you can print your own label. And if you print your own label, Extreme Flight will accept it. One caveat is that they said they're not responsible for damage if it gets damaged using your label. Now that said, Pirate Ship is using UPS. Okay. They're using UPS. So you can use a UPS label from Pirate Ship. And when I did the dimensions on the 67-inch plug and play, I used the dimensions Extreme Flight gave me, both length, width, height, and weight. And Pirate Ship was charging $150. Okay. So the answer, there are two answers here. Now hold on a second. I want to be clear about something else too, because I don't want you guys ripping me a new one. Before you spend a penny, you need to write to Extreme Flight and say, hey, I'd like to get the 67-inch plug and play. I understand shipping is going to cost me $333. John at RC Video Reviews said you take another label. If I supply it, I want to verify that that's correct. You need to ask them that question, not me. Okay. I already asked them. That's their answer. They said, sure, we'll take a label. Okay. So you need to write them and ask. Then once you have that agreement, the second thing you need to do is say, I need the exact box dimensions, weight, length, width, and height, and weight. They should be able to provide that to you. With that information, you can go to pirateship.com, print yourself a label, pay the $150, and then send that label over to Extreme Flight and they'll send it. I would also advise you to get insurance, because Extreme Flight is saying right off the bat, we're not responsible. If you use your own label, we're not responsible for damage, and I don't blame them. That's not wrong in my opinion. You can't hold them accountable if you use a label and your thing gets damaged. That's not their fault. All right. So that's it. That's that on the Extreme Flight plug and play. The other pro tip is you can buy the ARF and the combo pack. So if you buy the ARF and combo pack, your shipping comes back down to a reasonable number. And in fact, you could probably pay for a good chunk of the combo pack what you were going to pay for shipping anyway. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's sad. I don't know what the deal is with it. Hopefully it's something they can correct and get that box size down to something that can be shipped without the extra big fee. But that's the story, and that's the end of the story. So that's the deal with the Extreme Flight plug and play. Christian says the Force 90 combos are on the site. You can get the ARF in a combo and save big money. That's right. I would say not worth it to send them a label. Ask them to freight ship to commercial address if it's an option. Yeah, freight ship is $175. But see, the problem is you can get the regular shipping for $80. That's what I just paid for the ARF. So even that's still an extra $100, and you have to provide a commercial address. So if you don't have a commercial address, you definitely need to go with the standard shipping. Roberts, have a great weekend, everyone. I'm off back to work. Take care. Don't work too hard, Robert. Thanks for popping in. JDM says no software available for what I do for a living on a Mac or my hobbies. I know some things are better on Mac, just not for me. Yeah, I use a Mac because of security. It's Unix based from the start, and I believe in their security more than Microsoft security. So that's that. All right, that covers the conversation on shipping. Again, I didn't want to get into a bashing thing. That's not the intention, but I'm just covering the facts, man. Those are the facts the way I understand them. All right, let's see. That wraps up the Q&A, and next is coming up. Okay, so coming up, we have the laser inbound. It should be here tomorrow. I'm not going to bother doing a unbox. I'll probably do some pictures on Discord and share, but I already did a first look video for that one. I'm not going to do another first look video for the same airplane, even though it's an ARF. I don't know. If you guys want to see it, leave me a comment. Let me know if you want to see it. I'll consider it. It is kind of a different format because it's an ARF instead of a PMP. So if you guys would like to see the ARF unbox, let me know. If not, I get it. It's fine. I won't waste the effort on it because the plug and play unbox or first look was actually pretty good, I thought. So we'll skip that one. Next up, after that will be the M4. Try to get a flight in on that. I don't know if it's going to happen this weekend or not. I'm going to try. If I can't fly it, I'll at least get some hovering in, maybe tune the gyro a little bit and do that kind of thing, but we'll see. The M4, that will definitely be coming up. And then I'll be looking for a big day of flying with the M4 where we do all the testing, all the safety testing that I talked about earlier. So that's what's coming up. And then there will be material on this module that I've been telling you guys about. Will be, I think, I'm not going to say the date either because they didn't tell me I could. But the release date's not too far away. So when the release date comes and I'm able to do the material on that module, I will be doing that as well. So stand by for that. And then I will also be doing a production video for these sensors. These sensors will be coming up and I'll be doing a production video on those as well. So that's the week ahead. I don't know how much of that's going to hit during the week. We'll see. I can also tell you we are coming to the end of the baseball season next week. I believe we have some games. I'll have to check, but keep an eye on Discord. Not sure if there's going to be a pilot jam Friday or Saturday next week. So keep an eye on Discord. I'll let you know when the game firms up. So that is it. That's what's coming up. And that wraps up the show for tonight. Jeff says, yep, we want to see it. Anything RC from Hobby. Yep. Okay. All right. You guys like to see it. All right. I can do it. I can do another video. All right. Well, that wraps up the pilot jam for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. I appreciate the dialogue and the commentary and the humor as usual. Thanks to you guys for hitting the tip jar, and thanks to all those patrons out there who help support the channel and let me keep experimenting and bringing all this wacky stuff in to check it out and test it and show you guys how it works. If you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and that's all I've got for today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Get out there and fly something if the opportunity presents itself. And you know what? The hell with that. Just get out there and fly something. Take it easy.